Hello and welcome back. Or maybe this is your very first time joining me here. Either way, you've found exactly the right place to unwind. I'd like you to put aside the day's busy stories and settle into something beautifully uneventful. The gentle world of ancient Rome's most meticulous profession, an Olypolus, or in plain English, a Roman armpit plucker. Yes, you heard that right. Not a gladiator or an emperor, but a calm, steady hand in an era when smooth underarms mattered as much as a polished marble floor. Let's set the mood. Imagine you're not scrolling or searching or chasing the next thing, but instead, you're lying somewhere soft with just the tiniest trace of a smile curling at the corner of your lips. The real world can wait. This story holds no cliffhangers, no drama, and no pressure to stay riveted. You can drift off whenever you wish. If you do fall asleep, don't worry. You won't miss a thing that demands urgency. In fact, the most exciting thing that happens tonight is a bath towel, quietly folded, or a bit of olive oil, catching the golden morning sun. Let's start. Picture yourself waking up in Rome, about 2,000 years ago. It's a city full of noise and stories, yes, but this isn't the Rome of battlefield legends or shouted Senate debates. No, this is Rome at its gentlest, where the most important part of your job might be making sure not a single hair is overlooked in the quiet, steamy halls of the public baths. If you ever wondered who kept Roman arms as smooth as marble, congratulations, you're about to spend a day in those sandals. For you, the day starts before the city is fully awake. There's no alarm, except the distant sweep of brooms and a faint chorus of street sellers warming up their calls. You're not rushing off to conquer the forum or debate with philosophers. Instead, you step into your little shop, a place that might remind you of a cozy corner in your favorite barbershop, but with fewer magazines and a lot more olive oil. Here, your kit is ready. A pair of honest bronze tweezers, a linen cloth, and that trusty bottle of oil gleaming faintly in the early light. You keep things simple, with everything in its right place, a bit like a minimalist dream bathroom shelf, minus the Bluetooth speaker. Now, why would the world's mightiest city care about such tiny details? Well, appearances mattered in Rome almost as much as they do in today's Instagram feeds. Ovid, one of the most stylish poets of his time, actually gave advice, in verse no less, about keeping your underarms and legs hair-free. You could think of ancient Romans as the original smooth skin influencers. The baths, where you do your best work, are nothing like the stark, tiled bathrooms you might know. These are vibrant, warm spaces, buzzing with the low hum of conversation and the soft splash of water on marble. Early in the day, the light in the baths is soft and golden, the air quietly scented with oil and steam. If you listen closely, you can just about catch snippets of laughter, a light argument about the best bread in the neighborhood, and every now and then, the distinctive sing-song call of a fellow Olypolus beckoning the next customer. Sometimes, yes, there's even a little yelp, because, well, even 2,000 years later, plucking armpit hair is still not the world's most relaxing sensation. But don't worry, the story here is all about gentle humor and easy, calming repetition. Let's talk tools, because after all, every profession has its gadgets. Yours are simple: bronze tweezers, well-worn and cleaned daily, an oiled-up cloth, and of course, a strigil, that beautiful, curved scraper Romans used to sweep away oil and dirt after a good steam. Archaeologists still dig these up by the dozens, sometimes tucked away in bathhouse drains or under centuries of tiling. Even though you might not see a resemblance between a Roman bath kit and a modern-day spa cart, Both are designed for comfort and routine, just, with a little more olive oil and no cucumbers on your eyes. It's a community, not a lonely task. Around you in the baths, there's a low-key social energy, a bit like a local coffee shop's regular crowd, but everyone wears sandals and keeps their voices soft. Vendors might wander by, hawking fig cakes or cheap perfume, and sometimes a friend from another trade, say the masseur or the bath attendant, stops for a joke and a stretch. You stay in your lane, literally and figuratively, offering a careful hand, a kind word, and that gentle, repetitive rhythm that makes anyone feel at home. And that's the heart of what you do. Pluck, oil, smooth, repeat. There's nothing urgent, nothing new to learn, and nobody in a hurry. If you're picturing spa music, go ahead and let it play in your mind. In fact, the only thing missing from this scenario is the background sound of someone quietly sneezing and then grumbling about it. Turns out, the ancient Roman sneeze sounds suspiciously like ours. It's comforting, isn't it, knowing that some things never change. History is woven from little details, small, repeatable moments like these. That's why sources like Ovid, Martial, and old letters from Seneca linger on about the simple art of looking after yourself, of keeping up appearances in a way that says, "I belong." Museums love to display the humble tools of your trade, arranged in tidy rows as if waiting for your next client. Where the facts are fuzzy, I'll say so gently. Where scholars disagree. Did this oil have lavender? Was the bench wood or stone? We'll take the softest path and let the questions drift by like steam through the bathhouse. Here's my calm promise as we move together from the slow rituals of your morning through the peaceful chapters of bathhouse life, markets, manners, and evening routines. Nothing in the story will jolt you awake. Pause, rest, drift if you need to. If you wake again, the thread will be right here, unbroken and welcoming. So, take a deep breath. Maybe roll your shoulders or pull your blanket a little closer and get ready for a full day in ancient Rome's gentlest trade. Our next stop, gathering your tools, greeting the rising light, and strolling out toward a city that prefers things smooth, slow, and quietly confident. And if you're drifting off already, that's perfect. Good sleep is always in style here. Chapter 1. Morning kit, place, and pace. You wake not to a bell or a phone's insistent chime, but to the hush of a city gradually coming alive. A city that asks nothing of you but to move at your own tranquil pace. There's no rush here. Rome's day starts slow and stays steady, as if the sun, too, stretches before climbing over marble rooftops. In your small sleeping space, tucked at the edge of the Subura, or maybe farther from the commotion on a quieter lane, you feel the familiar promise of a day ordered around gentle habits. Before you even rise, you listen to the distant soundscape, soft voices already pooling in the streets, tradesfolk rattling shutters, and the liquid echo of water poured into jars. Your kit waits nearby, neatly set out the night before. Years ago, you learned the quiet pleasure of preparation. A folded linen cloth, clean and still slightly scented with the Marseille soap used at the baths. A small, squat bottle of olive oil, pale green, its weight comforting in your hand. A set of bronze tweezers, polished with meticulous care, and a slim, curved strigil, that ancient all-purpose scraper used to coax oil and sweat from skin. Each tool is familiar and soothing, the way some people feel about their favorite mug, a lucky pen, or a dog-eared paperback that always waits on the nightstand. You reach for each item in a set order each morning, letting the smooth metal and cool linen settle your mind for the hours ahead. It's not glamorous work by Roman standards. Nobody erects statues to an Olympus, and there's little written in praise of the skilled hair plucker. Yet, in the web of the city's social life, your presence is not just tolerated, but quietly woven in, as if society knows that smooth, clean skin is as necessary as clean togas or sweet-smelling garlands. You wouldn't say it aloud, but sometimes you sense that your work makes Rome a little softer around the edges. A deep breath, a gentle stretch, and you're ready. You splash a little water on your face from the basin by the door, cold, bracing, as if the river Tiber itself had stopped by just to say good morning. If you're lucky and live above your workspace, your feet only need to pad across cool stone or wooden planks to reach the small workshop that is both your calling and your comfort. Your kit, rolled in a strip of cloth, is light enough to carry anywhere, but most mornings you unfold it, right on the bench carved into the wall beside your shop's front door. It's not much, but it's honest. One stool for you, a taller stool for clients, the simplest of shelves behind. The tools gleam in the soft morning light, each with its own purpose. The tweezers, your mainstay, are heavier than the cheap imitations some vendors peddle in the marketplaces. You invested in a good pair, Roman bronze with just the right tension, gripping but never biting, each jaw polished until it shines. Museums today still display such sets, tweezers, nail cleaners, small knives aligned in neat rows like tiny surgical instruments. Archaeologists uncover them in tombs and bathhouses across the empire, evidence that even far from the capital, Romans valued the comfort of orderly grooming. You oil the tweezers with the tip of a cloth, more habit than necessity. The olive oil, pressed just outside the city, smells faintly grassy, the scent of a summer afternoon in a grove. A favorite customer once joked that if the supply ever ran low, the baths would have to close, and half the city would be left scratching. You laughed, conceding that for all Rome's grand public fountains, it runs just as much on olive oil as on water. Before you set out or open shop for clients, you take one more look around your small chamber. The walls are plain, but clean. On a shelf, a bowl of figs, a heel of yesterday's bread, and a chipped amphora of last year's wine rest beneath a faded fresco. Nothing about armies or storm-tossed ships, just a painted swirl of garlands and grapes, a gentle reminder to savor the easy moments. Not everyone starts as early as you. The bathhouses won't fully bustle for an hour or two. When the markets are in full voice and the city's daily pulse quickens, you're content with the gentle edge of dawn, the time when clients arrive sleepily or with a lazy yawn, grateful to find you ready, with oil warm and hands even warmer from anticipation. Old Seneca, in a letter from his little writing nook, once described the bathhouse's lavish chorus: grunters, yelpers, and the infamous call of the Olympus, offering pluckings to all comers. You sometimes think the city would sound lonely without that odd, comic advertising cry drifting up through the windows. Now and then, a friend drops by, a fellow tradesperson on their way to sell sesame cakes, or perhaps a lamp repairer with hands still oily from night work. They greet you not with a handshake or a formal bow, but with a half smile and a comment on the weather. Cool today, isn't it? Or, looks like the figs are in early. Their voices soften the edges of the morning, drawing you into the rhythm of a neighborhood where everyone has a role. You return the greeting, maybe share a joke about whose hands get oiliest, and the conversation meanders the way water does. No rush, no agenda, just an easy flow. As the city slowly brightens, the streets start to show movement. Merchants hunch over scales at stall fronts, measuring lentils. A baker's apprentice carts bread loaves with a practiced wobble. Children chase one another between columns. Even the city's dogs, half wild and half adopted, patrol their usual routes, sniffing for scraps. You take this in from your bench, letting the world arrive as gently as possible. You might recall the comfort of a well-worn morning routine back home. A mug refilled, a shirt ironed, a cat stretching in the sun. It's not so different here, except the city's rhythm arrives more slowly and with less noise. You sit, oil your tweezers, smooth your cloth, and listen. The bathhouse doors haven't opened yet, but you sense the anticipation, a low, rolling hum beneath the city's heartbeat. When you work outside the baths, your bench becomes the first stop for many regulars. They drift in, rubbing their arms, hair tangled from sleep or sweat. Some joke, "I only slept because I knew you'd tidy me up," while others simply nod, grateful for the quiet. You set to work, murmuring little reassurances as you go. With each hair plucked, you move with purpose, careful to keep the experience as gentle as possible. You've learned the trick of rhythm: pluck, pause, oil, smooth, repeat. Soon enough, the world stops feeling sharp and everything blurs into kindness. Occasionally, there's a little drama. Someone new arrives, expecting a magic solution to a summer of stubble. You show them the tools, explain about patience and repetition, and if all else fails, offer a friendly joke. "If I plucked as quickly as you want, you'd be hairless but twitching." That always gets a smile, if not a laugh. The tools themselves become part of your reputation. The tweezers shape the way you hold them. They say professional. Among the city's many craftspeople, the Ellipolus is respected for subtlety, for turning the sharpest objects into agents of comfort. You don't advertise with bold signs or loud calls. Your work is soft, reassuring, the kind that inspires repeat visits and gentle word of mouth. There's pride in that, not the kind that launches legends, but the quiet, lasting kind that survives centuries. People will still find your tools in the earth long after you're gone. And maybe, just maybe, they'll imagine your skill and care. As mid-morning approaches, the bathhouse invites you in. Romans don't bathe for haste. They arrive in clusters, unfold their towels, and begin the dance of soap, oil, and strigil. The air inside is thick with steam, sunlight slanting through high windows, every breath filled with the comforting promise of cleanliness. Here, you find your second workbench. A low stone ledge, still warm from yesterday's sun, serves as your station. You set out your kit, always in the same order. You oil your own hands first, just as a chef tastes a sauce before serving. A little ritual to make sure you're centered. All around, voices murmur, gossip, business deals, friendly catch-ups. You absorb snippets without really listening, letting the conversation slide by like a shallow creek. The sounds aren't that far from what you'd hear in a barber shop. The occasional playful complaint, the subdued laughter when someone realizes they're still half asleep, and the occasional song warbled off-key by someone trying to impress the room. The order of the day: oil first, then strigil for anyone who needs it, then plucking, always by consent, never by surprise. Some mornings, you see the same familiar faces, those who come daily for the comfort as much as for the cleanliness. Their routines are as established as your own. Enter, greet, soak, oil, scrape, pluck, and linger just a little longer than strictly necessary, savoring the transition from night to day. Occasionally, you serve someone more anxious than the rest, a client new to the baths, unused to the sensation, or nervous about gossip. You offer reassurance by your pace. This will be quick or as slow as you like, you murmur. Your hands never hurry, your voice stays even. You might not think of yourself as a therapist, but on mornings like this, you are. Some hints of modern life slip in. There are always reminders. When oil splashes and the cloth catches it, you recall kitchen mishaps or garden stains. When someone flinches, you remember your own first time. Humor helps. If the gods meant us all to be smooth, they'd have invented easier tweezers, you joke. The analogy holds until you remember the gods invented wine instead. In that respect, you're not complaining. Late morning, the bath grows livelier, but never frantic. People drift from strigil to plucking to lounging, wearing only the lightest linen or nothing at all, unself-conscious and perfectly at home. You work quietly, always aware of the etiquette. No rushing, no teasing beyond what's kind, no drawing attention to any discomfort. Some clients talk, some doze, some simply listen to the play of water and laughter. For all the subtle competition of marble villas and silk garments out in public, here there's a democracy of skin and steam. Everyone wants to feel cleansed, cared for, and just a little bit pampered. As midday draws near, the crowds will thin. Many will return home or to crowded market streets. You gather your tools, clean the table with a swipe of linen, and press a soft smile to anyone still in the corner. The light has changed by now, brighter, warmer, the angles shifting, casting everything in amber. Your cloth is a little more stained, your tweezers worn, but shining. You pause to savor it, a job done quietly, a space made inviting. You think sometimes about the stories that surround you, the half-remembered lines from Ovid and the sharp wit of Martial, who, in verse, cast a gentle eye on such small domestic routines. If only they'd written more about the Ellipolus, you suspect the work's secret beauty would have found its way to every Roman hearth. Even Seneca, whose letters mention your kind with a comic detail, evoking the shrill, sing-song voice of a bathhouse worker, reminds you that daily life is built from these tiny, ordinary footsteps. If you listen hard now, you'll hear the city, at its kindest, its most honest. Not the politics, not the armies, or the rumors of glory, but the regular joys of warmth and cleanliness, friendship and routine. This is the Rome you inhabit, slower, softer, and for a few peaceful hours, a world away from the storms and triumphs of history's larger-than-life tales. And as the chapter closes, you prepare for the rhythm to shift again. Soon will come midday, the subtle changes in market bustle, and the dance of regulars cycling in and out. But for now, you breathe in oil, warm marble, a hint of steam still hanging in the air, and ready yourself for what's next, confident that you move through the day and through this city as gently and steadily as the best plucked smooth surface. If sleep finds you somewhere between morning and midday, rest easy. The city is always waiting to welcome you back, slow and soft, tomorrow and every day after. Chapter 2. Inside the baths, step by step now, let's step into the heart of the Roman day, deeper into the warm sanctuary of the bathhouse, where your work as an Ellipolus truly takes form. Unhurried, unremarkable to some, but quietly central to the city's sense of comfort and order. The baths are a world of their own, a little ecosystem where time slows and distinctions fade. The air greets you with a gentle cloud of steam, the kind that curls around the arches and settles over every stone bench. You enter with your kit in hand, exchanging nods with attendants as you pass between rooms, a familiar choreography that feels, in its own way, as natural as the pattern of your own breath. It's cool in the outer vestibule, but warmth gathers quickly as you enter the tepidarium, the first stage of every bather's journey. You might imagine it as an ancient version of a modern spa's waiting room, but with columns and mosaics instead of scented candles and playlists. Everywhere, the sound of running water, slippers shuffling on tile, and beneath it all, a low hum of voices, gentle, repetitive, unhurried. You find your usual spot, not far from the coldarium, Rome's answer to the sauna. Here, waves of warmth roll from the central baths, mingling with the perfume of olive oil and the quiet pride of fresh cleanliness. You lay out your tools, the simple arrangement, both ritual and reassurance. Tweezers, strigil, cloth, oil, all perfectly familiar to your fingertips. Your first client enters, easing onto the bench with a look that says, "Be kind this morning." You offer a smile, more with your eyes than your mouth, and begin, always with oil. The bathhouse rhythm is old and well rehearsed. Oil the skin, soften every strand, coax the body into relaxation before work begins. You move with intention, warming the oil between your palms before applying it in slow, steady circles to your client's underarm. The skin, so often exposed to dust and sun, drinks in the moisture gratefully, reflecting the light with a gentle sheen. Next comes the strigil, a curved bronze blade that scrapes away the oil along with sweat and dirt. A tool so basic, yet so essential, its outline is nearly as familiar in Roman art as wreaths or laurels. In your hands, it becomes an extension of your care, its smooth arc fitting perfectly along the lines of the body. You glide it gently, watching the surface of the skin grow cleaner, brighter, ready for the main task. Today, like every day, the strigil's cooling touch draws a contented sigh from your client, a sound that makes even the smallest work feel significant. Only then, once the body is relaxed and the skin prepared, do you reach for the tweezers. This is the slow part, a ritual in itself. Each hair is removed with a steady hand, never rushed, never careless. You find a rhythm, pluck, pause, soothe, and begin again. A process as gentle and predictable as waves on a quiet shore. From time to time, your client winces and you pause together, exchanging a look that's more camaraderie than complaint. Like pulling weeds in a garden you never quite finish, you might say, and the smile it brings is half relief, half resignation. The analogy works until you both agree that garden weeds have it easy. Around you, the bathhouse continues its soft murmur. Men and women alike submit to the same routines: oil, scrape, pluck, demonstrating that Roman standards of beauty and comfort know no strict gender bounds. You see old men, their arms thin but strong, gossiping quietly while you work. Young women laughing together, shielding their eyes from the rising steam as the Ellipolus makes her rounds. Athletes who scowl at the pain and boast of their toughness between plucks. Everyone here, stripped of titles, wears the same soft skin. You notice how much the etiquette matters, a dance of privacy and sociability practiced over generations. Some clients chat, filling the air with thoughts about the price of eggs or the rumors from the forum, while others prefer silence, lulled by the routine. You learn, as every good Ellipolus must, to match your pace to their mood, letting each session unfold without hurry or pressure. When a client brings news, say a new flavor at the corner bakery, you listen, layering each word atop the gentle rhythm of your hands, but never allowing conversation to quicken your work. Sometimes another Ellipolus works a few benches away. You trade nods or half smiles, but never compete or rush. There's an understanding, a professional courtesy that says, we're all here to make the day softer. You look over your colleague's technique and on rare occasions swap tips about oil blends or ways to ease a client's nerves. Laughter travels lightly across the tiles. The tools themselves tell a story you're proud to be part of. Your tweezers, for example, carry their own history. Perhaps they were made by a craftsman just outside the city or salvaged from a family kit after someone passed. The strigil, though plain, is uniquely carved on one edge, a gift from a grateful client, now rendered smooth by countless hands. When you line up your implements at midday, you can't help but feel connected to a long line of unseen workers, each just as devoted to comfort as you are. Light humor floats on the air, sometimes bubbling up in the least expected moments. Maybe one of the regulars jokes about inventing a no-pluck oil to put you out of business, a proposal everyone agrees would be disastrous for the baths and might finally let you sleep past dawn. You reply wryly, "If Rome ever finds a painless plucker, I'll take up bread baking." The room chuckles, a soft shared moment that makes both the work and the routine a little kinder. Hours drift by, punctuated only by the shifting light and the quiet coming and going of clients. You're barely aware of how often you repeat the process. Oil, strigil, tweeze, wipe, and welcome the next. The physical world of the bath, its marble and steam, its low buzz and occasional laughter, becomes as much a part of you as your own breath. Some days, the sunlight dapples through the windows just right, making even the most mundane moments shimmer. The bathhouse is a kind of stage, though nobody is performing and nothing is at stake. Time smooths out, and so do worries. Even strangers feel familiar by midday, as if the act of sharing this private, everyday comfort dissolves barriers. You sometimes imagine what it would be like if every city had a bathhouse like this, a place where all that matters is comfort, kindness, and good company. When, at last, the midday bell sounds, you gather your kit with the same care you began with. Tools wiped clean, cloths folded, your hands shiny now with oil and memory. A few clients linger, savoring the warmth and the easy pace. You enjoy, for a moment, the sense that you've made a little corner of the world softer for everyone who passed through. As you leave the baths to catch a breath of fresh air, cool against your still-oiled skin, you take a last slow look over your shoulder. The steam curls up to the rafters. The strigil flashes in the sunlight, and somewhere in the distance, another Alypolus calls out, not with urgency, but with a certainty born of practice. Next, and with that, you are ready to carry the calm of the baths with you, out toward the market, the next client, or just a quiet spot in the shade. The city outside still moves fast, but for you, the steady rhythm endures, a memory of warmth, laughter, and touch that will outlast even the day itself. And if sleep reaches you now, it comes wrapped in the lingering scent of olive oil, the slow hum of friendly voices, and the unmistakable peace that only a true Roman bath can bring. Chapter 3. Oils, Markets, and Materials. Now, the warmth from the baths still clinging to your skin like a memory, you step out into the living arteries of Rome, the thrumming streets where shopkeepers and market sellers are just hitting their stride. The air outside is different than the soft steam of the baths. Here, in the open, the light is crisp and runs in gold between buildings. You feel it on your face and hands, a familiar, hopeful freshness in the way every city morning welcomes you. So much so that it's nearly impossible not to pause and take a slow, full breath before moving on. You tuck your kit close, the cloth just a little damp with oil, the tweezers shining from their cleaning. Every piece of your craft held in the kind of careful bundle that might pass for an artist's roll of brushes or a barista's cherished milk jug and tamp. Just fewer caramel swirls, more olive oil. Each tool, each supply on hand is small and easy to overlook, yet together they shape the quiet core of your day. You don't hurry. Nobody expects you to. Your walk through the city is steady and perfectly unrushed, each step its own miniature rhythm. The roam around you is never silent. Above you, old laundry flaps from second-story windows, a pair of sparrows argue over crusts, vendors shout soft morning greetings, and the wheels of a single ox cart squeak down a nearby stone slope. Somewhere, a baker's apprentice laughs at an early, flour-covered joke. You let it all move past like water. Today, you'll need fresh oil, maybe a replacement cloth, and if your purse allows, a tiny treat to tuck away until afternoon, a ripe fig or a sugared nut from a generous vendor. Your kit swings softly at your side, and you can hear just the faintest clink as your tweezers shift inside the roll. Passing the corner, you stop beneath a linen merchant's awning. The shade here is a cool blue, a brief relief from the sunlight already climbing the city walls. The merchant herself recognizes you and waves without turning from her conversation. You inspect the latest batch of cloths, some coarse, some surprisingly soft given the season. Each square, each roll, carries a hint of field and dye, a memory of the countryside stitched into simple, practical beauty. You turn one over, checking the weave. You want linen that will clean, cushion, and dry quickly, not too scratchy on a client's skin, not so fine it falls apart after one twist. Still looking for that magic cloth? The merchant quips, a quiet, contented sarcasm in her voice. You reply, only as magic as my tweezers, soft enough not to startle, strong enough to get the job done. The kind of mild joke that makes the merchant laugh without raising her voice, shaking her head in gentle amusement. You settle on a pair, a thicker one for wipe downs, a thinner one for softening oil on the skin. It's the kind of tiny, considered choice that no song or epic will remember, but you'll notice its comfort every single day. You pay, feeling the familiar weight of your purse lighten just a hair, trading coins for tools and the continuation of well-practiced routine. The next stop is always the oil seller's stall. In Rome, oil isn't just for lamps or salads, it is as essential as bread, touching nearly every part of daily life. Good oil is worth its weight, and you pride yourself on knowing which bottle to choose by scent and by sight. The stalls are arranged in rows, their tablecloths striped and sun-bleached, each jug and amphora arranged for display. Your favorite seller, old Lucius, with a sun-leathered face and surprisingly nimble fingers, greets you with a twinkle in his eye. Running low already, Alypolis, he says. Not quite a question, not quite a tease. He knows your answer because you are always running low. The baths are demanding, your clients are devoted to the ritual, and besides, a little extra oil each day makes for an easier, softer job. You pause, leaning over the row of amphorae. Each has a different shade, a different clarity under the ambient light. Some are from distant provinces, shipped overland in sturdy clay. Others from local groves, pressed within the week. You unstopper a bottle and breathe in. The scent is grassy, green and vibrant. A reminder not just of food or grooming, but of summer afternoons beside olive trees, of hands sticky with resin and laughter echoing up the terraces. Lucius recommends a jug just pressed, assuring you he set it aside, the freshest for the plucker who never bruises. It's a low joke. You both know there's no such thing as a pain-free session, but every kind word adds an invisible softness to the morning. You take the bottle, feeling its cool heaviness in your palm, a comfort in the world of moving things. The oil's surface catches a fleck of sunlight and tosses it back at you, a flash that brightens your spirits. You pay Lucius and promise to return before week's end. If the oil is your canvas, your bronze tweezers are your paintbrush. They must be exactly right. Not too stiff, not too loose, jaws that meet perfectly, edges that never snag. In a city this big, there are always inferior models for sale. Hastily cast, rough on the fingers, prone to break at the hinge. Over the years, you've tried them all, and now you buy only from artisans whose names you know, passed among Gallipoli like secret recipes. Today, you need a backup pair. Your current ones have worn smooth from use, still trustworthy, but you know the wisdom of redundancy, a word modern office workers might call backup, and bakers call insurance against disaster. At a tiny smithy beside the market, where the smoke rises quietly and the floors are littered with iron and bronze shavings, you find Anton, the artisan, and nod your greeting. He's already working, the soft tap-tap of a hammer soothing as a heartbeat. You wait. There's no point in rushing a craftsman at his bench. When he's ready, he turns, brushes his hands on an ancient leather apron, and presents you with a few options. You lift each pair, feeling its weight. The best are heavier than they look, balanced, smooth, and with just enough flex to grab each hair firmly without slipping. Anton demonstrates one, squeezing it between his calloused fingers and then handing it to you for inspection. You test it on your forearm, plucking a single, nearly invisible hair. It comes free with a tiny sting, but the skin is otherwise unmarked. Perfect. You pay Anton, who wishes you luck and jokes, "May all your clients have only one hair each." A running joke among the city's Gallipoli, who know all too well the wild variety of Roman armpits. Before leaving the smithy, you pause to run a cloth over your new tweezers, test their tension again, and slip them into your kit with the quiet satisfaction that comes from a job well planned. The city outside is still humming, but for a moment, you stand surrounded by the elemental scent of smoke, hot metal, and the faint memory of olive branches. Sometimes, you think the smell of work itself is what makes the city feel alive. As you weave through the market, fresh linen tucked under one arm, oil on your mind, tweezers secure beside your strigil, you find your senses soaking up the world of small things, the sights, scents, and sounds that sweep away worries and welcome routine. You spot an old friend, the soap seller, whose stand is stacked neatly with blocks of her own making. The air above it is bright with the perfume of rosemary and bay, a scent that recalls, for you, afternoons scrubbing benches or the ritual cleaning of tools after a long shift. She calls you over, offering a sliver as a sample. You accept, smiling, and tease, "I spend more on your soap than on my own supper." The joke is old, but it draws the expected laugh, a trade of familiarity that eases the day onward. Tools and materials fill your basket, packages of soft reed for replacing the straps of your kit, a new tin of beeswax for finishing the wooden handles on your bench back at the shop, even a handful of dried dates to keep you fed between clients. Everything has its place, each item chosen for harmony with your gentle work. You stop to chat with another merchant, this one offering tiny glass vials of scent pressed from violets and roses. Some Gallipoli sprinkle a drop on their hands before a session, letting the fragrance smooth over any lingering fear or discomfort from their clients. For you, scent isn't a necessity, but sometimes, on a particularly hot day, or after a long series of appointments, a little lift of perfume can feel like an extra kindness, both for you and for the city's tender-hearted bathers. As you prepare to leave the market, your basket full, you pause beneath the archway by the fountain. There, you rest, drawing in the sounds of the city's everyday orchestra, the splash of water on stone, the soft call and reply of market sellers, the distant coo of doves perched on ledges above. You notice how the marble beneath you is smooth in spots where generations have sat just as you do now, telling stories, eating lunch, or simply watching the crowded markets unwind. You imagine the whole supply chain behind each tool in your kit. The olive groves outside the city, their gnarled trunks bent beneath the weight of new harvests. The miners deep underground, chipping bronze ore that will one day become your favorite tweezers. Weavers and dyers turning flax into linen. Hands stained by indigo and plant color, stories and laughter woven into every yard. You picture the craftsman finishing a strigel's curve until it fits the palm just right, never celebrated, never recorded by any scribe, yet central to millions of daily routines for centuries. You wonder, sometimes aloud, sometimes just to yourself, who is more essential to the workings of Rome? The statesman, plotting laws in the marble towers, or the glove-worn smith who crafts another pair of tweezers smooth as a pebble from a riverbed, handed down from one pair of hands to the next. In this quiet moment, it feels like a tie. Money is exchanged in soft increments in your trade. A few bronze coins here, a barter there, sometimes even a favor owed, rather than paid on the spot. You keep mental notes of which clients owe you a little from last time, which ones bring you a cup of cold Posca at the end of a hot session, and which tradespeople will swap goods, tool for tool, skill for skill. It isn't a glamorous economy, and you're no merchant prince, but the gentleness of the barter, the kindness traded as much as coin or cloth, provides a steadily repeating rhythm. It reassures you after even the most difficult mornings. It's a system that works best when nobody argues, when the trade itself is as soft as the work performed. Sometimes you finish a job and a client leaves an extra fig cake behind, a thank you for a gentle touch. At other moments, you are called to the upper quarters of the city, where wealthy clients pay double, demanding more, yes, but still grateful to be cared for with quiet and dignity. You remind yourself that no matter the wealth or circumstance, every armpit is armpit-shaped, every client nervous in the same familiar ways. By afternoon, the heat in the city has deepened, and the market has thinned. The best time for shopping is over. You slip through quieter alleys, your basket gently heavier with every acquired comfort. Vendors pack their leftovers for tomorrow, and the air carries a brief hush, as if the city is exhaling after a morning's busyness. Back at the baths or your humble shop, you unpack and arrange everything just so. You stop to wipe your tweezers, sharpening them with a stone if needed, washing each new linen in soapy water, oiling the handles of your strigils and the heads of your massaging rods. You take time to rest, but not truly nap. Perhaps you sit in the doorway, half dozing, letting the smells of soap and oil drift up in waves. Children play nearby with pebbles and chalk. Grown-ups talk quietly beneath archways, and the regular thrum of Rome's heart settles you in for the second half of the day. It's a little like making a cup of tea and sitting by a window at home, or the feeling of slipping new sheets onto a favorite bed, an everyday luxury, small but absolutely vital for feeling that all is right in the world. Chapter 4. Clients, Norms, and Gentle Etiquette. Now the city's sun is mellowing, and the air, golden and thick with the slow fade of afternoon, draws you softly toward your workbench once more. Around you, Rome relaxes in its own gentle, sprawling way. The sharpness of the market's haggling has dulled to friendly laughter, and the bathhouses hum like great stone hearts beating lightly beneath marble skin. This is the hour when your work is not simply routine, but a dance with the city's unspoken rules, a world of etiquette, expectations, and gentle human quirks that shape every careful pluck. You notice it in the way light pools through the bathhouse windows, settling on benches worn smooth by many bodies. You feel it in each greeting exchanged between regulars, an ebb and flow of nods and quiet smiles. In your trade, every client brings their own kind of presence. Some drift in quietly, tucking themselves into familiar corners without so much as a word. Others arrive with energy, chatting even as they settle into your chair, eager to catch up on news or share a light joke, sometimes about their own nervousness before a session. There are the old regulars, whose bared arms and open laughs make them as much a fixture as the bathhouse pillars. You know these folks well. They tease you sometimes about your slow pace. If I walk home any smoother, I might just slide all the way to the Tiber. One man quips. You smile, replying, "It's a risk I'm willing to take." Laughter tugs the tension from the air. It's a joke you've shared before, a gentle running motif, always met with the same ease. The regulars come because they trust you. They know you'll never rush, never point out their missed patches, never judge an armpit that arrived needy or a mood that arrived unsettled. Some come with their children, the next generation of bathhouse patrons, showing with a proud wink how you can make even the twitchiest child relax, at least for a moment, into the routine comfort of your gentle hands. There are newcomers too, cautious first-timers sent by recommendation or curiosity. They clutch their towels a little tighter, eyes flicking between you and the tools. You offer them the calmest smile, invite them to watch a regular session if they like, or let them simply stand close enough to catch the scent of rosemary oil as it warms on your palms. Time and again, you remind them, you go at your own pace. If anything feels too much, just say. Your assurance is as soft as the linen you keep ready for each session. No one feels pressured. Even if they only stay to chat and watch, you're glad for the company. The bathhouse, at its heart, is a soft democracy of skin. The senator's underarms and the gladiators, the merchants and the fruit sellers, all are equal beneath the bronze curve of your tweezers. Status remains at the threshold. Reputation, yes, but not any loud display. It's a bit like picking up your coffee at the same local cafe as the mayor. You might nod at each other, but here, everyone waits their turn in the same queue. Still, you sense the delicate hierarchies. Wealthy clients sometimes tip more, request special oils or extra towels, and appreciate the faintest nods to their standing. But you treat every customer with the same quiet courtesy, careful to let your hands and your voice build trust. If you notice a high-born patron glancing around nervously, you offer privacy. If a merchant gossips about a rival, you listen respectfully, never repeating stories you hear in confidence. Every so often, you spot a client trying to out-smooth their neighbor, sneaking glances as they finish, whispering about a new product from the perfume stalls or a rumor of a no-pain oil. You deflate the competition gently, reminding them the smoothest skin is the one you wear comfortably to supper. They grin, and the edge fades. Before every session, you prep the bench and tidy your kit with care, rolling out a fresh cloth for each guest. You prep your tools where clients can see, not to show off, but to reassure, like a cook, letting you peek into the kitchen. There's a comfort, you think, in seeing the instruments of cleanliness laid out honestly. No surprises, no secrets. You keep a careful eye on the limits of comfort. Rome was not a world flooded with scented lotions or balms, but you make small gestures where you can, warming the oil between your palms, fanning fresh air with your cloth, whispering a reassurance before the first pluck. It's not so different from the slow ritual of a beloved hairdresser prepping their chair or a friendly doctor's calm before a flu shot. Everything measured, everything designed to remind the client that their comfort is your only goal. The etiquette is implicit but strong. You always ask before starting, even for the most seasoned regulars. Ready? A simple word, but it grants them agency in a ritual that, even now, is just a tiny bit vulnerable. You work in a quiet, rhythmic way, never too abrupt, never chatty for the sake of filling silence. Some clients talk, some close their eyes. You let them lead, following the tempo of their mood. Light-hearted humor runs throughout the baths, but always gently. If someone jumps at a sudden pluck, you quip, "The hair's just stubborn, not you." Or, "Maybe your skin's thinking about running away." These small jokes lighten the air, distracting from the fleeting discomfort. You know never to push too far. Gentleness is always the goal, and every client's laugh is a win. Every sigh of relief, even more so. There's a soft choreography at play across the ages and genders. In many ways, the standards are simple. Clean and smooth equals cared for, and cared for equals dignified. Young men come to you before athletic contests, hoping for less sweat, more speed, less taunting from competitors. Young women and their mothers arrive together, discussing hair removal in soft, quiet tones, often making the process an intergenerational ritual. Occasionally, you see a client wavering about a bare underarm, worried about gossip, or looking too Greek. You remind them with a twinkle, the fashion is whatever makes you feel relaxed. If only modern-style debates were as easily settled by comfort. You notice subtle trends. Sometimes those who work in the public eye, a merchant who serves many, a baker known for quick wit, come more often, hoping to maintain a reputation for neatness. Others, laborers, runners, dancers, simply appreciate the feeling. You become, in small part, a custodian of self-image. You share in the careful building of quiet confidence, one gentle session at a time. Your role as an Allipolis puts you at the intersection of public presentation and private comfort, balancing dignity, discretion, and friendliness. If clients worry about appearance, you soothe without flattery. You carry yourself well. The best look is the one that makes you forget you have to look at all. The analogy to modern personal brand management holds for a while, but here, there are no profiles, only the gentle reassurance of hands and routine. And now, as the chapter deepens, let yourself slip further into the gentle ocean of the day's regular tides, the way clients find their places, boundaries are honored, little moments of humor arise, and gentle etiquette flows like warm oil over the surface of Roman culture. For many of your clients, the bathhouse is not just about the service you offer, but about the sequence, how routine and anticipation work together to create relaxation. There's an old bench near your designated spot, worn thin by countless waiting bodies. Here, regulars trade stories, the old guiding the young through a soft world of do's and don'ts. No one elbows to the front. Waiting is its own kind of meditation. Some close their eyes, letting the bath's steamy air fill their lungs, while others fuss with their towels or gossip quietly about the meal waiting at home. A merchant might snicker softly, "If you're in a hurry, you're not doing it right." as another answers, "That's my excuse for being last every time." You chuckle with them, knowing that slowness is woven into the ritual as surely as the plucking itself. You notice how regulars teach newcomers the ropes. An older client will guide a younger, showing how to drape the towel, which bench keeps you coolest, or how to relax just before the plucking starts. There's a pride in steadying nerves, passing down old tips. Breathe out as she plucks, and it barely pinches. The wisdom is passed softly, warmly, a reminder that comfort is both personal and communal. Inside the bathhouse, the atmosphere pulses with an undercurrent of unspoken agreements. Don't interrupt, don't stare, don't rush the process. When the room is full, everyone speaks a little more softly, the voices blending with the sound of water trickling into marble basins. You observe all this with steady, practiced calm. Sometimes you'll see a friend help settle another into the chair, offering encouragement with little more than a squeeze of the hand or an arch of the brow. There are no loud cheers or dramatic goodbyes, just a gentle continuity of presence, as if each person came not just for clean skin, but to be present in the shared hush. The soundscape is a soft, repeating lullaby. The muted slap of wet feet on the tiles, the brush of linen, the occasional muffled laughter when someone jokes about being smooth enough to make the dolphin mosaics jealous. These days, even the bathhouse attendants join in, swapping banter and sharing snacks, keeping the atmosphere light and undramatic. When the mood is especially tranquil, you find that time almost seems to slip away. Hours pass unnoticed, marked only by the gentle transitions of sun through windows and the ebb and flow of bathers. The repetition of routine feels like breathing, a practice that, with all its gentle cycles, slowly erases the sharpness from any lingering worries. There's a delicate balance to humor here. You find yourself becoming a kind of conductor of gentle jokes, always ready with something light, but never cutting. Sometimes you point at your bronze tweezers and whisper conspiratorially. You'd think after a decade of plucking, these things would start working on their own. Or, as you apply oil before a session, you murmur, "This is the ancient Roman version of conditioner. Soft, shiny, and if you spill it, you'll be more slippery than a dolphin in the frigidarium." Your regulars reply in kind, inviting a joke or responding with playful seriousness. "Don't let the hairs know what's coming," one woman whispers, hiding her nervousness behind humor. "Last time, my left armpit tried to make a run for it." The client next to her deadpans, "My hair has unionized, so you might want to negotiate first." Everyone laughs, a low, rolling sound that lifts the mood without jarring the peace. Sometimes, a child endures their first session with theatrics worthy of the stage, clutching their mother's hand, eyes squeezed tight, determined to be brave. You offer soft, silly encouragement. Rome wasn't built in a day, but your smooth arms might be. The little one giggles, the tension breaks, and the rest of the room relaxes into the moment. You treasure these playful exchanges. They make every tedious moment softer, every sharp pluck a little less alarming. There is relief in shared laughter, and you're grateful for the community that lets you cultivate kindness as much as cleanliness. The boundaries of privacy are woven deeply into the etiquette of your craft. In the communal world of the baths, there's an art to giving each person their bubble of space. You angle your stool so that others aren't in the direct sight line, and whenever a client hesitates, you redrape the towel or turn away, letting them settle on their own terms. Take your time, you always say, letting them know their comfort is your only clock. You notice who brushes their own arm before you begin, who fidgets nervously, who cracks jokes to cope. You tailor your approach each time, always gentle, never assuming. When it's time to work, you move slowly and announce each step. Warming the oil now, just brushing off the excess. Here comes the first little pull. So nothing startles, nothing surprises. Every act is deliberate, every motion explained. For some, this is their quietest hour all week, the only time someone treats their comfort as sacred. You sense the responsibility, and it never feels heavy. Instead, it shapes your hands, your words, your very breath, until everything in you is tuned toward making this small segment of the day feel gentle and safe. In your experience, there's a real current of pride that comes with the bathhouse visit, both as a chance for renewal and as a kind of social badge. For men, a smooth underarm hints at athletic readiness and good grooming. For women, it signals care, pride, and belonging. More than once, you hear a regular claim that he's as smooth as an amphora, ready for the races, while another older woman jokes that she feels as fresh as the goddess Venus, if Venus ever had to do her own laundry. The bathhouse itself is a theater of belonging. You welcome newcomers with the same ease as you greet old friends, letting everyone find their space in the communal choreography. No one is left out. Even those who simply wander in to watch, who say, "Maybe next week," or "I'll wait for my sister," are given a warm nod and a spot on the bench. It's a little like sharing a picnic in a city park. No reservation required, and there's always room for one more. As you work, you reflect on how these routines build confidence. The shyest clients eventually chat with others, asking for advice or sharing recipes for cleaning cloths. Friendships form, not with drama or fanfare, but with quiet repetition and the comfort of being seen, tended, and heard. Over time, the entire community transforms, each person emerging from the bathhouse a little lighter, a little more assured, and a little more themselves. As daylight begins its slow descent and the warmth of the city pools at street level, you sometimes daydream about all the other Alipili scattered throughout the vast Roman world. Maybe in a distant city like Londinium or a smaller provincial spa in Gaul, another gentle hand is warming oil and trading the same slow jokes. You picture a cousin trade in Ephesus smiling at his own joke, a sister in Antioch offering reassurance to a nervous bather, their voices soft and padded with the universal language of comfort. The beauty is how little changes across borders. The tools, tweezers, cloth, oil, and the manner, the deliberate pace, the patient attention, are the same. Occasionally, a traveler will remark, "Your hands remind me of a market in Alexandria," or "This oil smells like my mother's kitchen in Carthage." You take these comparisons as the highest compliment. They speak to the broad, invisible family of all who practice these small, tender arts. In some places, folks ask for special oils or extra herbs they claim give a smoother result. You always smile and let them hold the bottle, inhaling the promise of some far-off ingredient. But you know that your real secret isn't in rare spices or fancy tools. It's in the repetition, the patience, and the readiness to listen. And you have to admit, a good joke goes quite a long way, no matter the province. As the rhythm calms, you find yourself in a familiar evening state. The baths are emptier now, the usual crowd having filtered out. Towels tucked under arms, a chorus of soft goodbyes echoing down steamy halls. You wipe down your kit with fresh linen, oil the tweezers one last time. The air is thick with the residue of voices, laughter lingering, the soft cadence of old stories just told. You thank each client with a nod as they leave, perhaps offering a kind word. Rest well, and may tomorrow's smoothness last the day. Someone always grins at that. Half promise and half wish, a phrase as reliable as your technique. The last regular takes a seat in quiet, allowing the silence to swell in the space between you. Oil glistens faintly on your palm as you finish, a small gift of warmth before the night chill. The repetition is calming now. Everything slows. You fold the cloths, lining them up with meditative precision. You place the tweezers at the edge of the table, as if positioning little sculptures for a silent exhibition. There's a comfort in knowing you'll do it all again tomorrow, with new faces, old laughs, and maybe another joke about runaway armpit hair that seems to sprout overnight. You step out to the quiet courtyard, take a few breaths, and let the low sounds of the closing day settle into your bones. Around you, the great city moves on, fast beyond the walls, but always in your little corner, gentle and unhurried. If your eyelids grow heavy now, resting in the afterglow of gentle laughter and soft sociability, let yourself drift. In the world of the Allipolis, routine is a lullaby, and comfort is a gift you keep giving, day after day and night after night. Now, as the last hint of laughter echoes softly, the chapter unwinds, inviting you to carry its gentle pattern into whatever comes next, be it sleep or the slow, golden turn toward the evening rituals and the peaceful close of day. Chapter 5. Evening, upkeep, and the wider map now. Dusk settles slowly over Rome, painting the world in the kinds of violets and golds that make even old walls look new. The city's engines of labor and leisure have spun all day, but the pace is softening further. This is your favorite time. You drift alongside the city's gentle exhale, your basket a bit lighter after a day's honest practice, your kit just a little more worn in the right way. You begin the close of your daily routine, not with fuss or rush, but with the same unhurried care you brought to your very first client hours ago. The evening air feels thicker now, less like a stirring soup, more like the inside of fresh bread, warm and fragrant, holding you in its imaginary arms. Your work is not truly finished until you tend to the quiet tools of your service. In the fading light, every action is slow and deliberate. You select each implement, tweezers, strigil, tiny scissors, pins, and each scrap of linen, and begin anew. You run a soft cloth along the length of each tool, coaxing away any lingering oil or dust, letting the bronze catch the last gold of the day. It occurs to you that this moment would not seem out of place to the careful chef scrubbing down after hours, to the artist washing bristles, to anyone who believes that tending your tools is a kindness, a last act of gratitude for all the work they have done. There is no need for haste, no pressing distraction. The world quiets as you polish and fold, and in these motions, you settle your mind. Your cloths hang in a low breeze at the window. The linen feels even softer after many washes, like the skin of a peach or the smoothest inner bark. You stack them neatly, always with tomorrow's first in easy reach. This arrangement, humble and practical, brings a subtle pulse of satisfaction. No one else will see, but you know, the day is only truly over when the last cloth is stored, the last tweezer aligned. You step outside for a breath, letting your lungs fill with Rome's nighttime perfume. A little smoke from distant cook fires, a lot of olives and resin, sometimes a rare wisp of sea air blown in from the coast. The evening is gentle, with children's voices in the alleyways fading into the low song of crickets and the far-off echo of an argument turning, remarkably, into laughter. Inside, you wipe down your low bench and window ledge, sometimes humming to yourself. Your song isn't planned. It's the kind of wordless hum that arises from memory and the muscle of repetition. If there is such a thing as after-work music for the Eolipolis, it's this: linen gently swishing, the clink of bronze against ceramic, the wash of distant voices, and the easy whisper of your own breath. Occasionally, the air inside will hold a faint tang of sandalwood or lavender. Clients sometimes offer little gifts, herbs wound in ribbon, a pinch of dried flowers. You set these on your shelf, small reminders that kindness is circular. Care inspires care. Smoothness soothes both giver and receiver. You often wonder, in this quiet space before sleep, how many others are going through these same motions across the empire. It's an invisible network, this community of careful hands, each tucked into the corners of far-off cities, each taking slow pride in the same evening rituals. Perhaps in distant Londinium, a cousin in trade sits by a window nearly as drafty as yours, puzzled by the same late-day questions. Did I tune the tweezers too tightly? Was I gentle enough today? Or maybe in a villa on the Aegean coast, another Eolipolis sweeps clean the tiled floor, admiring how the sinking sun catches motes of oil floating in the last shaft of light. These quiet thoughts expand the sense of belonging. You're alone, but not lonely. Rome's greatness isn't only measured in its wars or monuments. It lives just as much in the small, repeating patterns carried through unrecorded thousands of hands every evening. Sometimes you feel that if the world spun any slower, you might hear the sighs of all those other workers, separated only by space and a day's worth of noise. You think back on your day, retracing the calm, familiar motifs: oil warming on your palm, metal gleaming under inspection, clients relaxing with every careful pluck, laughter layered in softened air. You remember the child who tried not to flinch, the regular whose tip was a bag of figs, the nervous new client eventually at ease. Where some trades measure success in transactions, you measure it in smaller, yet somehow more profound, currencies. In the softness of the cloth you use, the smile as a client discovers their skin smooth and cool, the steady beat of contentment that sometimes lingers all the way to sleep. Your body mirrors the slowing of the city, shoulders releasing, hands lying quietly in your lap, eyelids growing heavy. You know these simple closures signal not just the end of work, but a permission to rest, to let all routine slip into the comfortable background hum of memory. Usually there is space, even after a long day, for one last gentle joke. You may whisper into the empty room, "Thank heavens, armpit hairs don't grow much at night," or "Rome would never sleep." The jest is only for you, but it draws a smile, a secret parting gift after the daily parade of faces and stories. Sometimes the street cats, eternal loungers, watch your ritual with barely a blink. Ancient sentinels who take both work and rest seriously and seem to understand, without words, that the day's effort is not about drama, but gentle return and repetition. At last, you dim the lamp and settle onto your cot, the day's layers of oil and effort already dissolving in the dark. The city outside becomes quieter still, the baths now empty and echoing, the markets swept and closed. You allow the softest motifs of the day, warm oil, linen, laughter, gentle hands, to slip again and again through your mind, each repetition gentler than the last until they fade and merge into dream. No alarms, no lingering tasks, just the promise that tomorrow will offer the same rhythm, and you will greet it with the same calm care. A world of tiny details endlessly smoothed as Rome draws its soft blanket of sleep. And if you find yourself drifting, caught somewhere between wake and rest, know this: everything important has already happened. There will always be another day, another batch of gentle laughter and routine, another round of small, kind endings in the soft, safe world you have helped to keep smooth for centuries. Now, with even your own thoughts slowing amid the hush, this chapter finds its close, setting you gently at the threshold of rest. Now, the city is hushed, the last ribbons of dusk drawn away, and even the most restless corners of Rome have fallen into an easy, untroubled quiet. Your hands rest, your tools are silent, and you feel drawn into the softest part of the day, the time when the world is preparing for its collective exhale. It's in this stillness, gentle listener, that the long, timeless cycle of care and comfort settles fully into you. No need for newness, only the deepest, kindest repetition. You notice, if you're awake at all, how the patterns of the day still echo in your body. The memory of warm oil smoothed between your palms, the subtle click of bronze tweezers, the soft laughter, no sharper than a sigh, layered quietly over the bathhouse tiles. The world's edges are blurring now, and every detail that tethered you through this quiet profession of care has become a soothing drumbeat for rest. No chapter tonight had a twist, no moment required attention, past the gentle now. If you stayed with the story, you've wandered gentle baths, watched the play of golden light on linen, heard the careful teasing between friends and neighbors, and felt, through ritual and rhythm, a kinship with all those anonymous hands that kept Rome quietly beautiful. The motifs return, slower: oil and strigil, bench and cloth, laughter and hush. Each image slides in and out, never crowding the mind, always gentle, always soft. Even the most stubborn armpit hair, the one everyone joked about, the one that always seemed to come back, feels distant and harmless now, smoothed into the greater comfort of endless routine and restful hours. You smile, maybe, at the memory of a regular's joke. If I get any smoother, I'll slip right out of my toga. The bathhouse echoes with a laughter softer than night wind, and the comfort you gave others lingers as a blessing for yourself. The quiet act of cleaning away the day's little discomforts becomes the broader act of letting go, of permitting sleep to wrap itself gently around you. Here, in this final moment, novelty has faded almost entirely. Even the details that once seemed important, who paid last, whose towel was missing, which strigil needed a gentle repair, come slower, repeating only to lull you, never to prod or alarm. The world is as smooth as oil in a dish, as steady as your own breath. In the story's end, you sense a soft weaving together. The city, the trades, the gentle hands of your own work, and all those unnamed companions across time and place. Peace here is found not in grand finish lines, but in the simple knowledge that everything necessary has been cared for, that tomorrow's dawn will find you once again in the calm pattern of comfort. Let your mind drift as the last echoes of laughter, kindness, and tiny rituals lull you beneath Rome's sleeping sky. There's no need to rise, no task still waiting. The story, faithfully as ever, circles round, offering small, soothing certainties as you slip into whatever dreams may come. Nothing urgent, nothing missed, only softness, always here, always returning, as the Elipolus and their gentle world rock quietly into night. Good night, and may the soft,